One of the things that frequently makes learning Taijiquan difficult is the method with which it is commonly taught. The most common method used in teaching Tai Chi is based upon having students learn the choreography of a Tai Chi form. Typically, the student follows the teacher as the teacher performs a complex sequence of choreography, and the student attempts to copy what the student believes the teacher is doing. Let me demonstrate the problem using a simple Tai Chi ruler exercise. The basic choreography of the exercise is to shift weight back and forth as one moves the ruler in a vertical circle. As I'm demonstrating it here, the movement is slow, smooth, and flowing. Many observers would say that what I'm showing is very nice Tai Chi because the movements are slow, smooth, and flowing. I would say it's not Tai Chi at all. What I'm doing is simply shifting my weight back and forth while moving my arms in isolation of the rest of the body. This is not Tai Chi. It is what is often called waving my arms, or what traditionalists would call flower hands. It is movement that looks nice to someone viewing it, but is empty with limited health benefit and no martial content. Using the same choreography, what I'm demonstrating is proper Tai Chi movement. To the untrained observer, there is little or no difference between the two. There is very little that is visually different to the untrained observer. Here is the same exercise performed with the physical actions very large and very exaggerated. Done this way, one can readily see that I'm doing much more than simply shifting my weight back and forth and moving my arms in a circle. However, as the practitioner becomes more skilled at this, the actions can be performed progressively smaller and smoother until, to the untrained observer, there is very little difference between the skilled master and the novice. Very often, skilled teachers do not show the movements large and exaggerated and do not explain to the student what he or she is doing. This leaves the student to copy the actions that are visually obvious, the shifting weight back and forth and the movement of the arms. The novice often cannot distinguish between a skilled teacher and a teacher who is performing empty choreography. Regardless, even with a skilled teacher, unless the teacher shows the student what he or she is doing, by performing large exaggerated movements, few students will learn more than to copy what they can see, the obvious external motions. This leaves the student with empty movement or flower hands. This leads the student to incorrectly believe that Tai Chi is the choreography. Here is another exercise that illustrates the same point. The basic choreography of this exercise is to revolve the hands while pressing them against the abdomen. As with the previous exercise, this is not Tai Chi. I am simply revolving my wrists against my abdomen using isolated movement of my arms and hands. Next, it is performed correctly, but with small motions of the body. Performed this way, it does not appear to the untrained observer to be much different. Most students learning this exercise will copy what they can see, the circling of the arms and the wrists against the abdomen. When performed very large and exaggerated, the use of the whole body to drive the circling of the wrists becomes obvious. When performed very large and exaggerated, it also becomes obvious that both the ruler and the wrist circling exercises are performed using the same basic physical mechanics. In addition to others, both of these exercises will be taught in detail in this video. The methodology presented in this video is designed to avoid these common impediments and aid the student in developing the use of the body that is the foundation for the practice of Taijiquan. It does so in three ways. First, by identifying that all of the choreography found in the practice of Tai Chi is based upon a small number of specific ways of using the body. These specific ways are the building blocks of movement and are used individually and in combination, the result of which is the external, visually obvious choreography that students are often taught in isolation of the correct body method. Second, each of these building blocks is presented first in isolation and then in combination via a small number of exercises that maximize skill development while minimizing time spent learning lengthy sequences of complex choreography. Third, the physical actions of the body are shown in an exaggerated fashion to assist the student in both seeing what is being done and feeling the actions within his or her own body. Feeling the actions is key. The training progression is to begin with large, exaggerated, segmented movements that are practiced slowly so that the practitioner can feel the individual actions within his or her own body. Practicing large, exaggerated movements also increases the practitioner's range of motion, flexibility, and strength. After sufficient slow, large practice, the student will naturally be able to express explosive power in the movements, since doing so uses the same body mechanics. The most basic principle of Tai Chi movement is that of whole body movement. That is, no one part of the body moves in isolation of the rest of the body. Instead, all of the parts of the body must work together in motion. Whole body movement can be described in terms of three components. These are expansion and contraction, translation, and rotation. In this video, exercises are shown to assist the student in understanding and achieving whole body movement. The initial exercises teach each of the three components in isolation. Later exercises progressively illustrate how the three individual components are combined to become the choreography of Tai Chi forms and martial applications. Start by standing in a relaxed stance, feet shoulder width apart. Next, place your palms together in front of your chest and pull your elbows and forearms together until they are touching each other. In pulling your elbows and forearms together, your chest will contract and hollow, becoming concave. As a consequence of this, your back will stretch across the width of your shoulder blades and become convex. The contraction of the chest and its concavity is referred to as closing the chest. The stretch across the back and its convexity is referred to as opening the back. The chest closes, contracting, pulling inward. The back opens, stretching and expanding across its width. As one closes, the other opens. We have seen that from a neutral position, contracting the chest and stretching the back pulls the hands closer together. Now let's look at the opposite action, contracting the back and stretching the chest. Now let's put part A and part B together into a single exercise. Stand with your feet about shoulder width apart. Extend your arms in front of you so that your elbows are not touching your ribs. Have a slight stretch through your arms that extend to your fingertips, but not so extended that your arms are rigid or your elbows locked. This is the neutral starting position. In this position, the chest and back are neither open nor closed, but in a relaxed position. From this position, close the chest, which brings the hands together. Now relax the chest, allowing the hands to separate and return to the neutral starting position. Now open the chest, which separates the hands and arms. Feel the stretch across the chest and the contraction across the back. Now relax the chest and back, which returns the hands to the neutral starting position. After you are familiar with the two separate actions of Part A and Part B of this exercise, the exercise can be performed in a smooth, continuous manner. Emphasis should be placed on using only the opening and closing of the torso to produce the motion of the arms, rather than have the arms move independently of the torso. If you place your attention on the backs of your hands as they separate, and on the palms of your hands as they come together, and coordinate the opening and closing of the chest and back with your breathing, you have a commonly taught basic Qigong exercise. With your spine bowed along its length and the slight stretch from your shoulder blades to your fingers maintained, straighten your spine. The straightening of your spine lifts your arms. Bowing your spine along its length lowers your arms. Once the connection between the hands and the back have been sufficiently well developed, even a small bowing and unbowing action of the back can produce a large motion of the hands. The next part of the exercise is to open the chest, which draws the hands and arms with it. It is important to open the chest rather than lift the shoulders or elbows. The shoulders should remain dropped, and the elbows should remain pointing towards the ground and are next to the ribs. Now let's put the four parts of the exercise together. 1. Straighten the back, lifting the arms. 2. Open the chest, pulling the arms inwards. 3. Relax the chest and close the chest. 4. Round the length of the spine, lowering the hands. Upwards, inwards, downwards. Peng, Lu, An. Exactly the same exercise can be performed while holding a Taichi ruler. At a more advanced level, the same exercise can also be performed with a Taichi ball or sphere, which adds an additional dimension due to the added weight of the sphere. So far, we have looked at 4 progressive exercises intended to introduce you to the foundational aspects of expansion and contraction of the torso. These exercises are intended to isolate the mechanism of expansion and contraction of the torso to make it easier for you to understand and experience. At the initial stages, these exercises should be practiced in a slow, segmented fashion with attention paid to each opening and closing action. As one's facility with the opening and closing movements increases, the exercises can be practiced more fluidly. Later still, the same opening and closing actions can be performed quickly and explosively to express power. With practice, one can express that power in any part of the body, including hands, elbows, shoulders, chest, and back.